I admire your courage, Miss...
Trench. Sylvia Trench. I admire your luck, Mr.
Bond. James Bond.
Hi, welcome to this week's edition of The Screening Room. It's a bit somber over this weekend as we celebrate the life and times of Sean Connery, and also we mourn for his loss. Sean Connery recently passed away at the age of 90. I'd like to take this opportunity to give you my top 10 list of films by Sean Connery. Here are my personal favorites of Sean Connery's top 10 list that I personally have seen and enjoyed a little bit. So coming at number 10, Highlander 1986. This film was not only famous for its sword play in modern day times, but lots of beheading, lots of sparks flying when swords are clashing, and it was also famous because Queen, the legendary rock band Queen, provided the soundtrack for this film. Many wonderful songs. Sean Connery plays Ramirez, mentor sorts of to Christopher Lambert's character. Could not die due to some sort of sin that he committed a long time ago. He is immortal and he's longing to die, and in order for him to die he has to go and kill all the immortals remaining until he is the only one, and only after that he can move on to the next life. And the only way to kill these immortals is through chopping off their heads, and these immortals will not go off quietly. Lots of fighting, lots of rock song, lots of memorable scenes, and of course the iconic words,
"There can be only one."
And coming in at number 9, A League of Extraordinary Gentlemen in 2003. This particular film was unique because it's an action adventure film with characters from literary books like Mina from Dracula, Dorian Gray, Mr. Jekyll and Hyde, Invisible Man, Alan Quatermain, just to name a few, including the ship from 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, the Nautilus. Quite an ingenious premise. It came from a comic book written by Alan Moore. This film was also infamous because there are lots of production problems, lots of quarreling with the director. Sean Connery plays Alan Quatermain, and he's supposed to stop this particular evil guy and his minions that looks kind of like Nazis from taking over the world. And lots of special effects, but the story is just so convoluted. Everything was just so bad. Sean Connery even argued with the director behind the set, and at one point he also tried to edit the film to save the film, and this film was the film that actually caused him to quit. Well, I kind of liked it.
What you just did? Keep your eyes on the bloody road! Whoa!
And coming in at number 8, The Name of the Rose. Not many people would have heard about this film, but I personally have a soft spot for this film because Sean Connery plays a monk, quite unorthodox. He's more like a detective monk. It kind of reminds me of a Sherlock Holmes in church, so to speak. And there's a string of murders up in this monastery in the hill, and he and his disciple, played by a very young Christian Slater with a very bad haircut, traveled to this monastery to try to figure out who has been killing all these monks. And it has a wonderful twist at the end, which I shall not give it away because this review is not a spoiler review. But all I can tell you is that it was wonderfully shot. It has the mood of the 18th century Dark Ages kind of mood. It's a very obscure film, and not many people would have heard of it. But it is a wonderful film. The Name of the Rose, a murder mystery set in a church.
What was the word you both kept mentioning?
Penitentiaria.
What does it mean?
It means that the hunchback undoubtedly was once a heretic.
Coming in at number 7, Dragonheart from 1996. Now this one's a bit weird. Sean Connery is in it, but we don't see him at all. He actually plays a dragon, a fire-breathing dragon, and his other co-star is Dennis Quaid. So Dennis Quaid plays this dashing knight, and he and the dragon becomes friends, but the villagers are frightened of the dragon, so they come up with this ingenious plan to scam the villagers so that he'll pretend to kill the dragon and then take money from the villagers, and they split the loot. So it's a very wonderful con game. But the problem is that the empire is ruled by this very evil king, whom Dennis Quaid's character was very fond of when he was young, and part of the heart belongs to the dragon. So if he kills the king to save the country, he also kills the dragon, who is his friend. So there's some form of conflict interest here. Wonderful CGI by this film, but you know, it was the 90s, so it's a bit dated now. But it has a wonderful story and quite a good premise with heart. Dragon Heart.
Yes, I have heart that cost me all of my soul. Even then, I knew his bloodthirsty nature, but I thought my heart could change him.
Coming in at number 6, Entrapment. Entrapment is a unique film. It stars Connery as Mac, this jewel thief, this wonderful thief, and also stars a wonderful, gorgeous Catherine Zeta-Jones. Catherine Zeta-Jones' character is supposed to go and capture Sean Connery's character Mac, and by doing so she has to pretend that she is also a thief, and together they are supposed to steal this particular artifact from this particular building, which is happened to be the Twin Towers in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. So it was partially filmed there. Some scenes from the Twin Towers, the river, streets of Malaysia, wonderfully shot. It's nice to see some Asian cities that's quite close to home that's being played in this particular film. Catherine Zeta-Jones was gorgeous in this film. A bit unbelievable with some of the premise, especially an older gentleman like Connery in his 60s or so, trying to romance very young Zeta-Jones. Not very believable, but hey, it was a very wonderful heist film, so to speak.
I'm a thief. I give you the world's tallest building and home of the International Clearance Bank. Do I have your attention now?
Undivided.
Coming in at number 5, The Hunt for Red October, 1990. And this film was directed by John McTiernan, who would later go and direct Die Hard. You can see some of the action tropes that's coming along. Very high spy kind of thriller. Wonderfully acted by Sean Connery. He was this particular Russian commander of a submarine that wanted to defect to America by using the whole submarine as a bargaining tool for him to actually go to the United States. In this film also stars this character called Jack Ryan, played by Alec Baldwin, which you know that later Jack Ryan will be played by Harrison Ford in Clear and Present Danger and Patriot Games, but Alec Baldwin was the first person to actually play Jack Ryan in the film. Scott Glenn also plays the commander of the other US submarine, and Sam Neill plays Sean Connery's second in command in the nuclear submarine. So this particular spy game, cat and mouse game thing, is totally all underwater, and there's a fantastic thriller spy kind of action film. It's one of my favorite. Go and check it out, The Hunt for Red October.
Right full rudder. Reverse starboard engine. Right full rudder.
Coming in at number 4, The Rock. Not to be confused with this rock, but it is The Rock, which is a nickname for Alcatraz. So this film talks about Ed Harris, this particular retired general that was so disillusioned with the US Army that he stole VX2 gas canister in missiles with a group of armed men trying to blackmail the United States into giving some money to be given to all his soldiers. And Sean Connery plays this convict escaped Alcatraz before, and they needed him to guide the specialists who can disarm the poisonous gas, played by Nicolas Cage. And this particular film was directed by Michael Bay. As you can expect, Michael Bay has lots of explosion, lots of low angles of the camera, high octane stuff. This film has quite interesting. The color palette of this film is very, very reminiscent of the Transformer movies. You can see the signature style is still there. It is absolutely insane, the story. It is just a roller coaster ride of fun, male testosterone language. Aliens. Michael Biehn plays a section commander from the Special SEAL team. I love this guy, wonderfully acted and crafted. You should catch this film, The Rock. Coming in at number 3, The Untouchables, loosely based on a true life story of the actual Untouchables led by Elliot Ness during the time of Prohibition, whereby Al Capone, the gangster from Chicago, was kind of ruling all the underworld activities, and they are supposed to try to bring him into justice. And the reason why they are known as the Untouchables is because they cannot be bribed, unlike the police and the judges in the American system, which is totally bribed by Capone. So this particular film, Sean Connery plays Malone, a very old police officer that teams up with Kevin Costner's character Elliot Ness, and they form a group of men who is willing enough to take down Al Capone and his whole organization. And this particular film has wonderful performances, especially from Sean Connery, because he won the Academy Award for Best Supporting Actor in this film. Well deserved. Check this out, The Untouchables.
It's me. It's me. Not this one. Not this one. You fuck, you got nothing. There's not a lot of talking of bad. You're here because you got nothing.
Coming in at number 2. This one is a cheat, I must admit. All the 007 films that Sean Connery has ever been. It's very hard for me to pick out which one is my favorite. I'm sure that if I were to do a bit more investigation, I might pick one. But at this point of time, due to the sudden passing of Sean Connery, I do not have the time to go back and rewatch all the films. So I'm just going to categorize them all at one time. Sean Connery and all his 007 films, starting with Dr.No, ending with Never Say Never Again. And what can I say about the 007 films of Sean Connery? It was the film that really kickstarted his whole career, even though beforehand he was involved in other films, stage plays and things like that. But it's definitely this line,
Bond. James Bond.
that made him world famous. Sean Connery plays a British secret agent, James Bond 007, License to Kill. And the films have him going all around the world catching bad guys, unfortunately sleeping with a lot of women, but every film has gadgets, exploding cigarette lighters, cars that comes out missiles and machine guns, boys' toys. And so much so that James Bond became so iconic that he's labeled as the man's man. Like men want to be him and women want to be with him. Wish someone would say that about me.
Do you expect me to talk? No, Mr. Bond, I expect you to die.
And last but not least, the number 1 film, personal favorite of mine, that I feel that his performance was very warm, very endearing, very funny, and at times quite savage too. All in one, surprisingly, for me, number 1 is Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. This one has said it all. Sean Connery as Indiana Jones' father. How cool is that? Who has the guts to cast James Bond as Indiana Jones' father? Sean Connery plays Dr. Henry Jones, Indiana Jones' father. In the film, he's obsessed with finding the Holy Grail, the Cup of Christ. And when he goes missing, Indiana Jones has the audacious task to try to not only locate his father, but try to complete the quest of finding the Holy Grail, and through many adventures throughout this film, fight sequences, exotic locations, and of course teaming up with his father. Midway through, we get the father and son dynamic between Harrison Ford and Sean Connery, when Harrison Ford said, "Don't call me Junior," and many times we see two of them banter each other, like really father and son, and especially this scene.
Dad! Oh, Dad! Oh, Dad! What? Head for the fireplace!
And it's with that list of Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, I bid farewell to Sean Connery, one of the most enigmatic actors that ever graced the silver screen. As controversial as he was in his views of politics and women and general, he just basically don't give a damn about what other people think. He just wanted to do things his way. You've got to really give him credit. You've got to really give him respect for what he has achieved throughout the years. And it was sad to have heard not only him passing away, but we never get a chance to see him redeeming the film that was his last film, that he deemed it to be so bad, made him walk away from acting for good. I felt that should he had one more chance of a huge hit, perhaps maybe coming in as a James Bond franchise or something else that would really give him the respect and the sending off he deserved, we may have just had one last big hoorah for him. But unfortunately that was not meant to be. Let us raise our glasses, our martini shaken, not stirred, to heavens and to Mr. Sean Connery and 007, may you rest in peace. This has been the Screening Room. Come back again, the room is always open. Click like, subscribe, and click notification so that you will get notified whenever there's a new video. Tell me what is your favorite Sean Connery film at the comments, and let's see whether we have the same taste or not.